Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Brian Sullivan reporting for Out and About Nashville this Sunday, October 11th, which also happens to be National Coming Out Day. And we want everybody to know that we love you for who you are and that you are accepted. And somebody else that's here with us today also wants to send some encouragement to our youth on this very important day. He served on the Metro Nashville Council for over 5 years now. Please welcome Councilman Brett Withers.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Brian.
So how are things going with you? How have you been coping in the pandemic?
It's as a single person, it's very lonely. I will say that. So lots of time with my cat. Yeah.
So what was it like? And you were out during your first campaign, right? What was it like running a campaign, as an out person? And were you the first elected LGBT council member?
No, that's a great question. Actually, in District 6, one of my predecessors, who is a good friend of mine, is a gay man, but was not out at that time. He had run earlier, is a gay man, but was not out at that time. But the first out gay man in council was Mr. Keith Durbin, who had represented the Vanderbilt area for a while and then went to work for Mayor Caldine as the head of IT services for Metro government, which is a role that he's still in. So he was actually the first, and I guess I was the second.
Well, congratulations on that, and thank you so much for the strides that you've made. Wanted to know, for some of the people who are struggling today with, maybe is this the right time for me to come out? Can you share with us your coming out story?
I would say mine was a little bit of a non-event. I was one of those kids who was kind of the last to know, somewhat. I also grew up, I was kind of raised by my dad's mother, who was a Jehovah's Witness, so I grew up around Jehovah's Witnesses. I would say that the benefit of that group, actually, is that you grow up as a Jehovah's Witness, you grow up being okay with being different. They have some just really different beliefs on some things. And despite, not being an affirming denomination, I really kind of go back to that as that in its own way, it was its own source of strength, is that I grew up saying, that there's something that's different about me and I have these different beliefs from other people. And, I'm proud of who I am because of my religious beliefs at that time, which are different. So I actually, in an ironic way, kind of go back to that, kind of being raised around Jehovah's Witnesses and being different in a crowd, not saying the Pledge of Allegiance, not believing in Christmas or celebrating birthdays. And it sort of was like, but there was your own structure within that group as well. So just kind of growing up believing that it's okay to be different. And not everyone has that. So I really view that as a real gift. My grandmother, who kind of raised me, died when I was in about the 8th grade. And I think kind of after that time, I don't know that I really would have come out to myself had she lived longer, you know what I mean? Had she been alive. But that was very, very difficult for me to cope with as a young person. And I got involved in drugs and some of those things because I was just trying to hide it. It's like I had feelings that I couldn't pray them away, right? So I kind of got involved a little bit in drugs and stuff like that as a middle schooler, early high school, but was, again, very fortunate that I had school counselors that got me into programs, largely had a supportive family for getting off of those and just coming to terms with who I am. So I count myself to be very, very lucky in a lot of those regards, that I have some relatives who aren't crazy about that per se, but through some odd paths, I had a lot of support networks, I guess I would say.
Well, what would you say to maybe youth or maybe even adults, or older people who are just now thinking about possibly coming out? What advice do you have for them, and what would you like to say to them?
You've got to be true to yourself, and you have to love yourself before you can love anyone else. And that really is, that's even hard for people who are out. Sometimes we don't always love ourselves, but that's the real thing, is that if you're living in the closet, you're hiding, you know what I mean? And it's just really difficult to be authentic. Now, you can still love people dearly. I know people who are closeted and have very complicated, I guess I would say, relationships and are very devoted. But you have to love yourself before you can love anyone else and be loved in return.
Well, you are living proof that you can be out and successful and respected and loved and, serve in government. And we're very proud of your journey, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. One quick question before we go. What's your go-to Out and Proud jam as far as music, or a song that really kind of just like empowers you?
In terms of somewhat recent, but is the song Moves Like Jagger.
Moves Like Jagger.
That gets spread on the dance floor. Absolutely.
Councilman Brett Withers, thank you so much. We really appreciate you joining us.
Well, thank you.